The assassination. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Conclave buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from 1,000 worlds filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness of the cosmos. At the center of it all stood President Ilara Chen, Earth's chosen representative. Her presence here marked a pivotal moment in human history, the first time humanity would sign a major intergalactic treaty as equals among the stars. Ilara's eyes swept across the assembly, taking in the myriad of alien faces. Some were familiar: the stoic Centauri with their crystalline skin, the empathic Nuvians whose tendrils swayed with the emotional current of the room. Others were new to her, species Earth had only recently made contact with. Despite their differences, a shared sense of hope united them all. Friends, allies, fellow sentients, Ilara began, her voice carrying easily through the acoustically perfect chamber. Today, we stand on the precipice of a new age, an age of cooperation, of shared knowledge, of mutual protection. As she spoke, Ilara couldn't help but reflect on humanity's journey to this point. It had been barely 50 years since Earth had achieved faster-than-light travel, catapulting them onto the galactic stage. Those early days had been fraught with danger and misunderstanding. But humans, with their characteristic adaptability and determination, had quickly carved out a place for themselves among the stars. The galactic concord we are about to sign, Ilara continued, is more than just a treaty. It is a promise that we will face the challenges of our vast universe together, that the strengths of each of our civilizations will become the strengths of all. In the audience, Ambassador Zix of the Centauri nodded approvingly. The treaty had been his idea initially, a way to stabilize a region of space that had seen too much conflict. He had found an eager partner in humanity, whose diplomatic corps had worked tirelessly to bring other species on board. Ilara was reaching the climax of her speech. Let this day be remembered not just in the annals of Earth's history, but in the histories of all our worlds. Let it mark the beginning of an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. Together, we will. The crack of energy weapons fire split the air. Chaos erupted as delegates dove for cover. Security forces materialized seemingly out of nowhere, their weapons drawn. But it was too late. President Ilara Chen stumbled, a look of shock frozen on her face. A smoking hole marred the center of her chest. She collapsed to the ground, her final words lost in the pandemonium. "Assassin!" someone shouted. "The human leader is down." In the ensuing bedlam, a shadowy figure slipped away, unnoticed by all but a few. Among those who saw was Zix, his crystalline eyes narrowing in recognition and dismay. Back on Earth, the news hit like a supernova. Crowds gathered in city squares, staring in disbelief at the footage playing on massive screens. Ilara Chen, the woman who had led humanity to its place among the stars, was dead. In the halls of power, shock quickly gave way to anger. Emergency meetings were called. Military leaders conferred in hushed tones, and all across Earth, a single question echoed: who would dare to do this? As the initial shock subsided, Earth's interim leadership addressed the planet. Vice President Marcus Donovan, his face grim, spoke to billions of stunned humans. "My fellow citizens of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil evident in his eyes. "Today we have suffered an unimaginable loss. President Ilara Chen, our leader, our visionary, has been brutally assassinated at the very moment she was securing our place among the galactic community." Across the planet, in homes and public squares, humans listened in stunned silence. Donovan continued, his words carefully chosen. "This act of cowardice, this attempt to derail the peace and progress we have worked so hard to achieve, will not stand. We will not cower. We will not retreat from our place in the galaxy." In orbit, Earth's fledgling space fleet was put on high alert. Ships that had been on routine patrols were recalled. Reserve units were activated. The military machinations of a species that had known war for millennia began to turn. To whoever is responsible for this atrocity, Donovan's voice took on a steel edge. Know this. You have not weakened us. You have not frightened us. You have awakened a fury you cannot comprehend." His words resonated with humans everywhere. In the streets, grief began to mix with determination. Impromptu memorials for President Chen sprang up, not just on Earth, but on every human colony and outpost across known space. To our allies in the galactic community, Donovan addressed the wider audience now. "We thank you for your condolences and support. We remain committed to the principles of peace and cooperation that President Chen championed. But make no mistake, we will find those responsible for this act of terror, and we will bring them to justice." As Donovan spoke, intelligence agencies across Earth were already in overdrive. Surveillance footage from the galactic conclave was being analyzed frame by frame. Diplomatic channels buzzed with demands for information, for cooperation. In the depths of UN headquarters, a special task force was being assembled. The best minds from military intelligence, cybersecurity, and xenopolitics were brought together with a single mission: find the assassins and uncover the truth behind President Chen's death. Leading this task force was Admiral Helena Frost, a veteran of Earth's early conflicts in space. Her reputation for strategic brilliance was matched only by her unwavering commitment to justice. As she surveyed the assembled team, her eyes blazed with purpose. "Ladies and gentlemen," Frost addressed the room, "we face a challenge unlike any in human history. Our enemies believe they have struck a fatal blow against us. They believe they have cowed humanity, pushed us back into obscurity." She paused, letting her words sink in. "They are wrong. In President Chen's memory, we will not only find those responsible, we will uncover whatever plot lies behind this assassination. And in doing so, we will show the galaxy that humanity is not to be trifled with." As Earth mobilized, ripples spread across the galactic community. Some species offered condolences and support. Others watched warily, unsure of how the young, volatile human race would react to this provocation. And in shadowy corners of distant worlds, those behind the assassination congratulated themselves, certain they had eliminated a threat to their power. They had no idea of the storm they had unleashed. Little did they know, humanity's journey from grief to retribution had only just begun. The assassins had killed Earth's president, but in doing so, they had awakened a sleeping giant. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. When you strike at humanity, you'd better be prepared for the consequences. As night fell on a grieving Earth, the stars seemed to burn with a new intensity. In cities and outposts across human space, people looked to those stars not with fear, but with determination. The message was clear: humanity would not be cowed. They would not retreat. They would rise, stronger than ever, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might throw at them. The hunt for justice had begun. Uncovering the conspiracy. The hum of advanced computers filled the air in the heart of Earth's Special Task Force headquarters. Holographic displays flickered with streams of data, surveillance footage, and interstellar communications. At the center of this technological maelstrom stood Admiral Helena Frost, her steely gaze fixed on the central display. "Run it again," she commanded, her voice cutting through the low murmur of activity. The hologram sprang to life, replaying the moment of President Chen's assassination. Frost watched, for what felt like the 100th time, as the energy blast struck the president. Her eyes narrowed, focusing not on Chen, but on the delegates around her. "There," she pointed. "Freeze and enhance Sector G7. The image zoomed in on a cluster of alien diplomats. Among them, a Zentari delegate's crystalline face reflected a flash of light a split second before the shot was fired. "He knew," Frost murmured. Ambassador Zix saw the assassin. Across the room, Ava Patel, Earth's top xenolinguist, approached with a datapad in hand. "Admiral, we finished analyzing the communications chatter immediately following the assassination. There's something you need to see." Frost turned her attention to Ava's findings. The datapad displayed a complex web of encrypted transmissions, all originating within minutes of Chen's death. Most of these follow expected patterns: shock, calls for medical assistance, security alerts, Ava explained. But this cluster here, she pointed to a tight knot of data points. They're different, heavily encrypted, using a protocol we've never seen before. Frost's eyes glinted. Can you crack it? Ava shook her head. Not yet, but we've traced the origin. They're coming from the Sylvan Confederacy. The news hit Frost like a punch to the gut. The Sylvans, with their organic technology and isolationist policies, had been one of the few major powers to oppose the Galactic Concord. But to go this far, get me everything we have on the Sylvans, Frost ordered. And find Ambassador Zix. I want to know what he saw. As Earth's intelligence apparatus sprang into action, light years away, a clandestine meeting was taking place. On a nondescript moon orbiting a gas giant in neutral space, figures shrouded in secrecy gathered. The humans are not reacting as we anticipated. A voice hissed, its owner hidden in shadows. Their grief turns to anger, not fear. Another figure, tall and willowy, stepped into the dim light. Councillor Falla of the Sylvan Confederacy surveyed her co-conspirators with disdain. You underestimate them, as I warned you would. The plan was sound. A gravelly voice countered. Remove their leader, destabilize their government. They should be in chaos, ripe for manipulation. Falla's laughter was cold. You think like a hive mind, Croax. Humans are not so easily cowed. They rally around their martyrs, find strength in adversity. We may have created an enemy far more dangerous than the one we sought to eliminate. As the conspirators argued, unaware they were being watched. In the shadows, a figure listened intently, recording every word. Agent Zara Chen, daughter of the late president and deep-cover operative, fought to control her anger. She had infiltrated this group months ago, suspecting a plot against the Concord. Never had she imagined it would claim her mother's life. Back on Earth, Admiral Frost's investigation was gaining momentum. Ambassador Zix had been located and agreed to an interview, his crystalline form shimmering on the holographic display in Frost's office. I saw a shadow, Zix explained, his voice tinged with regret. A flicker of movement where there should have been none. By the time I realized what it meant, it was too late. Frost leaned forward. Ambassador, we need more. Surely your species' enhanced visual capabilities. Zix interrupted, his tone sharp. Admiral, if I could have prevented this tragedy, I would have. My people stand with Earth in this dark hour, but I fear the truth you seek goes deeper than a single assassin's bolt. As Frost pressed for more information, across the galaxy, humanity's allies and enemies alike watched and waited. The assassination had upset a delicate balance, and no one was certain how the scales would fall. On Mars, the largest human colony outside Earth, protests erupted. Millions marched, demanding justice for President Chen and a strong response to the attack. The red sands echoed with chants of "Remember Chen, remember Earth." In the outer colonies, where human settlements brushed against the edges of unknown space, tensions ran high. Alien neighbors who had once been viewed with curiosity were now eyed with suspicion. Frontier militias, always a headache for Earth's central government, began to mobilize. Admiral Frost watched the reports flood in, each new development adding to the complex tapestry of the crisis. She knew time was running out. If they couldn't find answers soon, the situation could spiral out of control. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elias Coley, a quantum physicist who had been analyzing the assassin's energy weapon signature, burst into Frost's office, his eyes wild with excitement. "Admiral, we've cracked it," he exclaimed, spreading diagrams across her desk. "The weapon used to kill President Chen, it's not just advanced, it's impossible. At least, it should be." Frost raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "The energy signature. It doesn't match any known weapon," Coley continued. "It's as if the laws of physics were bent around that single shot." The only civilization with technology even theoretically capable of this is the Sylvans. Frost finished, the pieces falling into place. As this revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership, light years away, Agent Zara Chen was making her move. She had gathered enough evidence to expose the conspiracy, but getting it back to Earth would be no easy task. Under the cover of the conspirators' heated debate, Zara slipped away, making her way to a hidden transmitter she had painstakingly assembled over months. As she prepared to send her report, a shadow fell across her. "I had hoped I was wrong about you." Counselor Fala's voice was thick with disappointment. "Your mother would be proud, I suppose. Foolishly so." Zara spun, her hand moving to a concealed weapon. "It's over, Thala. I have everything. Earth will know the truth." Thala's smile was sad. "My dear, naive human, do you really think your truth matters? The wheels are already in motion. War is coming, whether your people are ready or not." As Thala raised her hand, crackling with strange energy, Zara realized the true depth of the conspiracy. This wasn't just about Earth, or even the galactic concord. Something far larger, far more dangerous, was unfolding. Back on Earth, Admiral Frost stood before the Emergency Council, the highest governing body in the wake of President Chen's death. The room was tense, filled with the weight of impending decision. "Ladies and gentlemen," Frost began, her voice steady, "we have uncovered evidence of a vast conspiracy. The assassination of President Chen was not an isolated incident, but the opening move in a galactic power play." She laid out the evidence: the impossible weapon, the encrypted Sylvan transmissions, the whispers of unrest spreading across known space. As she spoke, the faces of Earth's leaders grew grim. "We stand at a crossroads," Frost concluded. "We can retreat, pull back our forces, and hope this storm passes us by. Or we can act. We can show the galaxy that humanity will not be bullied, will not be manipulated, will not stand idly by while shadowy forces try to reshape the cosmos to their liking." The room erupted in debate. Some argued for caution, for diplomatic solutions. Others called for immediate military action. As the arguments raged, a priority transmission cut through the chaos. On the main screen, a face appeared. Battered, bleeding, but unmistakably human. Agent Zara Chen, her eyes blazing with the same fire that had made her mother a legendary leader, looked out at Earth's leadership. "This is Agent Zara Chen, reporting from deep cover." Her voice was strained but determined. "I have confirmation of Sylvan involvement in the assassination, but it goes deeper. Multiple species, multiple factions. They're all involved. This isn't just about Earth. They're trying to destabilize the entire galactic order." As Zara's report unfolded, detailing the vast web of alliances and betrayals she had uncovered, the room fell silent. The scope of the conspiracy was staggering. Admiral Frost stepped forward. "Agent Chen, your bravery honors your mother's memory. Can you transmit your evidence?" Zara glanced over her shoulder, tension visible in every line of her body. "Transmitting now, but I don't know how long I can. They're coming. Whatever you do, Earth must be ready. They think we're weak, divided. We need to show them how wrong they are." The transmission cut out abruptly, leaving the Emergency Council in stunned silence. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. Humanity had been thrust onto a galactic stage far larger and more complex than they had ever imagined. After a long moment, Marcus Donovan, the interim president, stood. His face was etched with the gravity of the decision before him. "Admiral Frost, you have your mandate. Whatever resources you need, whatever authority you require, it's yours. Bring our people home, expose this conspiracy, and make it clear to every species in the galaxy. Humanity will not be trifled with." As the Emergency Council session adjourned, Frost's mind was already racing with plans. They would need to mobilize on a scale unprecedented in human history. Every ship, every soldier, every scrap of advanced technology would be needed. But more than that, They would need the unbreakable spirit that had carried humanity from its first tentative steps beyond Earth's atmosphere to the stars themselves. The same spirit that had allowed them to survive first contact, to carve out a place among civilizations millennia older than their own. As she left the council chambers, Frost's comm unit chirped, a message from her network of informants. She read it, her eyes widening slightly. A single line that changed everything. The void dancers are moving. The eternal night approaches. Frost felt a chill run down her spine. The conspiracy, it seemed, was even vaster than they had imagined. Ancient powers, spoken of only in whispers among the oldest civilizations, were stirring. Humanity had wanted its place among the stars. Now, ready or not, they were about to play a role in a cosmic drama beyond their wildest imaginings. The galaxy was about to learn just how brightly the human spirit could burn. As night fell on Earth, citizens looked to the stars with a mixture of fear and determination. Their president had been assassinated, their place in the galactic community threatened. But they were not cowed. They were not retreating. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The storm was coming, and Earth would meet it head-on. Humanity's response. The orbital shipyards above Earth buzzed with frenetic activity. Vessels of all sizes, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, were being outfitted and armed at a pace that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. The assassination of President Chen had galvanized humanity like nothing before, uniting them in a common purpose. Admiral Helena Frost stood at the viewport of her flagship, the HSS Nemesis, watching as the final preparations were made. The ship, a marvel of human engineering and reverse-engineered alien technology, represented the pinnacle of Earth's military might. But Frost knew that firepower alone wouldn't be enough for the challenges that lay ahead. "Admiral," a voice called from behind her. "The War Council is assembled and waiting." Frost nodded, turning away from the viewport. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's not keep them waiting." The war room of the Nemesis was filled with holographic projections of Earth's top military and political leaders. At the center stood Interim President Marcus Donovan, his face grim but determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," Frost began, her voice carrying the weight of command. "Operation Nemesis is ready to commence. But before we take our first steps, we need to be absolutely clear on our objectives and the challenges we face." She gestured, and a galactic map sprang to life in the center of the room. Key points glowed, representing suspected enemy strongholds and potential allies. "Thanks to Agent Chen's intelligence," Frost continued, her voice tinged with concern for the missing operative, "we know that the conspiracy against us runs deeper than we initially thought. The Sylvan Confederacy is just one piece of a much larger puzzle." President Donovan leaned forward. "What are we looking at, Admiral? Give it to us straight." Frost's eyes swept the room, meeting the gaze of each leader in turn. "We're looking at a shadow war, Mr. President, a conflict that's been brewing for centuries, possibly millennia. Ancient powers, known to the oldest races as the Void Dancers, are making their move. And somehow, humanity has become a key piece on their cosmic chessboard." Murmurs of disbelief and concern rippled through the assembled leaders. General Zhao of the Mars Colonial Defense Force spoke up, her voice sharp. "With all due respect, Admiral, this sounds like the stuff of legend. We're supposed to base our strategy on ancient alien myths." Frost nodded, understanding the skepticism. "I know how it sounds, General, but the evidence is undeniable. The weapon used to assassinate President Chen, the encrypted communications we intercepted, they all point to technology far beyond even the most advanced known civilizations. We're dealing with something older." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "But that doesn't change our immediate mission. We need to strike back, show the galaxy that humanity is not to be trifled with, and unravel this conspiracy thread by thread." The holographic map zoomed in on a distant star system. "Our first target is here, in the Epsilon Eridani system. Intelligence suggests it's a key hub for the conspirators, possibly a staging ground for further attacks against Earth and our allies. As Frost laid out the details of the planned assault, back on Earth, a different kind of mobilization was taking place. In universities and research labs across the planet, the brightest minds of humanity were being recruited for a special task force. Dr. Samantha Rice, a brilliant synorchaeologist, found herself whisked from a dig site on a distant moon to a top-secret facility beneath the Atacama Desert. As she was led through security checkpoints, her mind raced with possibilities. Dr. Rice, a voice called out as she entered a vast underground chamber. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." She turned to see Dr. Elias Coley, the quantum physicist who had first identified the anomalous energy signature of the assassination weapon. His eyes were bright with a mixture of excitement and fear. "Dr. Coley," Samantha nodded. "I came as soon as I got the message. But I still don't understand. What does an archaeologist have to do with advanced weapons technology?" Coley's smile was grim. "Everything, as it turns out. We're not just dealing with advanced tech, Dr. Rice. We're dealing with the remnants of civilizations so old they've passed into myth, and we need to understand them if we're going to have any hope of surviving what's coming." As Samantha was briefed on the true nature of the threat facing humanity, light years away, another key player in this cosmic drama was making her move. Agent Zara Chen, daughter of the late president, and now the most hunted human in the galaxy, crouched in the shadows of an alien bazaar. The planet, a neutral trading hub on the fringes of known space, was a melting pot of species and cultures. It was also the perfect place to disappear, or to make contact with the right people. Zara's eyes scanned the crowd, looking for her contact. The information she carried could change the course of the coming conflict, but only if she could get it into the right hands. A flicker of movement caught her attention. A hooded figure, moving with too much purpose to be a casual shopper. Zara tensed, her hand moving to the concealed weapon at her hip. Friend or foe, she couldn't afford to take chances. As the figure drew closer, Zara prepared to strike. But then a familiar voice, barely above a whisper, reached her ears. "The void dances, but humanity leads." Zara relaxed, but only slightly. It was the correct passphrase, but in this game of shadows and secrets, nothing could be taken for granted. "And in the dance, we find our strength," she replied, completing the code. The hood fell back, revealing the crystalline features of a Zentari. Ambassador Zix, the last person to see President Chen alive, looked at Zara with a mixture of relief and urgency. "We don't have much time," Zix said, his voice low. "The Sylvans know you escaped. Half the bounty hunters in the sector are looking for you." Zara nodded grimly. "Then let's not waste any more time. I have the data. Everything I could gather on the conspiracy, the Void Dancers, all of it. But it's not complete. There are still missing pieces." Zix's crystalline form shimmered with tension. "That's why I'm here. The Zentari High Council has decided to throw its full support behind Earth. We've been monitoring the Void Dancers for millennia, but we never thought they'd move so boldly so soon." As Zora and Zix exchanged information, piecing together the vast puzzle of the conspiracy, back on the HSS Nemesis, Admiral Frost was putting the final touches on Operation Nemesis. "The key," she explained to her assembled commanders, "is to strike hard and fast. The enemy thinks we're reeling, disorganized. They don't expect us to have unraveled so much of their plan already." Colonel Evelyn Drake, commander of the elite Solar Marines, leaned forward. "My teams are ready, Admiral. Just point us at the target." Frost nodded approvingly. "Your Marines will be the tip of the spear, Colonel. We'll need that famous human adaptability for what we're about to face." As the final briefings concluded and the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Frost allowed herself a moment of reflection. The weight of command had never felt heavier. The fate of not just Earth, but possibly the entire galaxy, rested on the decisions she would make in the coming days. A priority communication alert snapped her out of her thoughts. "Admiral," her eye assistant's voice chimed. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's Dr. Coley. He says it's urgent." Frost's brow furrowed. What could be so important that it couldn't wait until after the jump? "Put him through," she ordered. Dr. Coley's holographic form materialized, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. "Admiral, we've made a breakthrough. The artifacts, the ancient tech, we've managed to partially activate one." Frost felt a chill run down her spine. "What did you find, Doctor?" Coley took a deep breath. "It's not just a weapon, Admiral. It's a key. A key to something massive, something old. And if we're reading it right, the Epsilon Eridani system isn't just a staging ground. It's the location of something the Void Dancers have been searching for eons." As Coley's words sank in, Frost realized that Operation Nemesis had just become far more complex and far more crucial than anyone had imagined. They weren't just launching a counterattack. They were about to step into a war that had been raging in the shadows since before humanity had learned to make fire. Across the galaxy, on ships and planets, in hidden bases and ancient ruins, the pieces were moving into place. The Void Dancers, thinking their plans were still secret, prepared to make their final moves. The Sylvan Confederacy, caught between ancient loyalties and new fears, wavered on the brink of open conflict. And at the center of it all, humanity, young, brash, and untested on the galactic stage, prepared to show the cosmos what they were truly capable of. As the HSS Nemesis and its fleet engaged their hyperdrives, Admiral Frost sent one final message to Earth. Its contents were simple, but they would be remembered for generations to come. For Earth, for President Chen, for the future of all sentient life, Operation Nemesis commences now. May the stars themselves bear witness to what humanity can do when pushed to the brink. With a flash of light that outshone nearby stars, the human fleet vanished into hyperspace, hurtling towards a destiny that would reshape the galaxy forever. The response of humanity was underway. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what this young, fierce species would do next. In the eternal dance of cosmic powers, a new partner had entered the floor, and they were determined to lead. The counterattack. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light as the HSS Nemesis and its fleet dropped out of hyperspace on the outskirts of the Epsilon Eridani system. Admiral Helena Frost stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the tactical displays as data flooded in. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. "All ships accounted for, Admiral." Her XO, Commander Ravi Sharma, responded crisply. "No signs of enemy detection. Yet." Frost nodded, her mind racing through the countless scenarios they had wargamed. Dr. Coley's last-minute revelation about the true nature of their target added a wild card to an already complex operation. "Launch stealth probes," Frost ordered. "I want a complete scan of the system before we make our next move." As the crew carried out her orders, Frost's thoughts turned to the wider implications of their mission. They weren't just here to strike back at the conspirators who had assassinated President Chen. They were potentially on the verge of uncovering secrets that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Meanwhile, deep within the Epsilon Eridani system, on a barren moon orbiting a gas giant, the conspirators were gathered. Councillor Fala of the Sylvan Confederacy paced nervously, her willowy form a stark contrast to the harsh, rocky landscape visible through the base's viewports. "The humans should be in disarray," she hissed, her frustration evident. "How could they have mobilized so quickly?" Croax, the hive mind representative, chittered in agitation. "Perhaps we underestimated their resolve. It matters not. They cannot hope to stand against the power we are about to unleash." As the conspirators bickered, deep beneath the moon's surface, ancient machinery hummed to life. Systems that had lain dormant for millennia began to awaken, responding to codes and protocols set in motion by the Void Dancers. Back on the Nemesis, the data from the stealth probes began to pour in. Frost leaned forward, her eyes widening as the true scope of what they faced became clear. "My God," she breathed. "It's not just a base. The entire moon is a machine." Dr. Coley's voice cut in, his holographic form materializing on the bridge. "A machine of incalculable power and complexity. Admiral, what we're seeing here matches the artifacts we've been studying. This could be the source of the Void Dancer's power." Frost's mind raced, reassessing their strategy in light of this new information. Can they activate it? Coley's hologram flickered with static, a sign of the vast distances his transmission was crossing. "Based on our analysis, no, not yet. They're missing a key component. A linchpin, if you will." A chill ran down Frost's spine as the pieces fell into place. The weapon that killed President Chen. It wasn't just an assassination tool. It was a key. "Precisely." Coley nodded grimly. "They needed a demonstration of its power, a test run before they used it to activate the moon machine." Frost's decision was immediate. Change of plans. "Colonel Drake," she addressed the commander of the Solar Marines, "prepare your teams for immediate deployment. We're not destroying that moon. We're taking it." As the Nemesis's hangar bays buzzed with activity, Marines and specialized tech teams preparing for the assault, another player entered the game. On the fringes of the system, a sleek ship dropped out of stealth mode. Its design was unlike anything in the human or known alien fleets. At its helm, Agent Zara Chen and Ambassador Zix shared a look of determination. "We're picking up the human fleet," Zix reported, his crystalline fingers dancing over the alien controls. "They have arrived sooner than we anticipated." Zara nodded, her mother's determination evident in the set of her jaw. "Good. Transmit the recognition codes I gave you. It's time to even the odds." Back on the Nemesis, alarms blared as sensors detected the new arrival. Frost tensed, ready to order evasive maneuvers, when a familiar voice crackled over the comms. "Hess Nemesis, this is Agent Zara Chen. Authentication code, Omega Phoenix Rising. Request permission to dock and brief you on critical intelligence." A wave of murmurs swept the bridge. Frost allowed herself a small smile. "Permission granted, Agent Chen. Welcome home." As Zora's ship docked with the Nemesis, the conspiracy's base on the moon below was a hive of activity. Fala and her cohorts, alerted to the human fleet's arrival, rushed to accelerate their plans. "We need more time," a Sylvan technician reported, his plant-like appendages waving in agitation. "The activation sequence is complex. Without the key." Fala's eyes blazed with a mixture of fury and fear. "Then we'll buy you that time. Alert our fleet. Let's see how these humans fare against the combined might of the Sylvan Armada." In the space around the gas giant, portals began to open. Sylvan ships, their organic designs a stark contrast to the sleek lines of human vessels, poured forth. The conspirators had played their hand, revealing their true strength. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Frost watched as the tactical displays lit up with enemy signatures. But instead of dismay, a fierce grin spread across her face. "They've shown themselves," she said, her voice carrying to every ship in the human fleet. "Just as we hoped they would. All ships, execute Battle Plan Theta. Let's remind these conspirators why humanity has survived every challenge thrown our way." The human fleet sprang into action, their formations shifting with a fluidity that belied their youth as a spacefaring species. Frost had drilled them relentlessly, preparing for this moment. As the two fleets clashed in the void, a more covered operation was underway. Cloaked by cutting-edge stealth technology, dropships carrying Colonel Drake's Solar Marines streaked towards the moon's surface. Inside the lead dropship, Drake addressed her troops, a mix of hardened veterans and fresh-faced recruits united by their determination. "Marines," her voice rang out, clear and strong. "What we do here today will echo through history. We're not just fighting for Earth, for vengeance, or for glory. We're fighting for the future of every sentient being in this galaxy. The enemy thinks they have the advantage of advanced tech and ancient powers. Let's show them what good old human ingenuity and grit can do. A chorus of aura filled the dropship as it entered the moon's thin atmosphere. Back on the Nemesis, Zara Chen stood beside Admiral Frost, watching the battle unfold. Her time undercover had given her insights into Sylvan tactics that were proving invaluable. "They'll try to flank us here," she pointed to a sector of space. "It's a classic Sylvan maneuver." Frost nodded, relaying orders to the fleet. Human ships smoothly adjusted their positions, turning what should have been a devastating Sylvan assault into a trap. As the space battle raged, Drake's Marines made landfall. They emerged from their dropships into chaos, Sylvan defenders already alerted to their presence. "Push forward," Drake shouted, her powered armor shrugging off enemy fire. "We need to reach the central chamber." The Marines advanced, their tactics a blend of time-tested human warfare and adaptations to alien technology. They fought not just with weapons, but with hacked drones, reprogrammed defense turrets, and even the moon's own systems, guided by tech specialists working in concert with Dr. Coley's team back on Earth. Deep within the moon machine, Thala and the other conspirators watched in growing horror as their plans unraveled. "This is impossible," Croax chittered. "They're adapting to our defenses faster than we can erect them. How can such a young species be so resourceful?" Thala finished, a note of grudging admiration in her voice. "We gravely underestimated them. But it's not over yet." She turned to a console, her fingers flying over alien controls. "Initiate Protocol Omega. If we can't have this weapon, no one will." Alarms began to blare throughout the facility. On the Nemesis, Dr. Coley's hologram flickered to life, his face pale with fear. "Admiral," he gasped, "they're overloading the moon's core. If it goes critical, the explosion will tear this entire system apart." Frost's mind raced, calculating options, risks, potential outcomes. In that moment, she made a decision that would be debated by historians for centuries to come. "All ships," she commanded, her voice carrying across the fleet, "disengage from the Sylvan forces. Focus all firepower on the moon. We need to crack it open before it explodes." As the human fleet reoriented, pouring devastating firepower into the moon's surface, Colonel Drake and her Marines found themselves racing against time. "New objective," Drake called out as her team fought their way deeper into the facility. "We need to reach the core and shut it down manually. Failure is not an option, Marines." In the chaotic minutes that followed, human determination was put to the ultimate test. In space, ships maneuvered with impossible precision, their weapons carving a path through the moon's crust. On the surface, Marines pushed themselves beyond all known limits of endurance, fighting not just the Sylvan defenders, but the moon itself as tremors and power surges threatened to tear it apart. And at the heart of it all, in the ancient chamber that housed the core of the moon machine, Colonel Drake faced off against Counselor Thala. "You've lost," Drake said, her weapon trained on the Sylvan leader. "Shut it down." Thala's laugh was bitter. "You have no idea what you're meddling with, human. The power contained in this core, it could reshape reality itself. The Void Dancers have waited eons for this moment. Do you really think your species, barely out of its cradle, can hope to control it?" Drake's reply was cut short as the chamber shuddered violently. Cracks appeared in the walls, ancient metal groaning under impossible stresses. In that moment, as the fate of the system, perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance, it wasn't advanced technology or cosmic power that made the difference. It was a human finger on a trigger, a split-second decision made in the heat of battle. Drake fired, her shot striking not Thala, but the control panel behind her. Sparks flew as systems shorted out. The ominous hum that had been building throughout the facility began to die down. "I don't want to control it," Drake said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "I just want to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." As Thala stared in disbelief, Drake's calm crackled to life. Admiral Frost's voice, tight with tension but underlined with triumph, came through. "Colonel, we've done it. The moon's breaking up, but the core's been stabilized. Whatever was in there, it's inert now. Get your people out. We're bringing you home." As evacuation orders echoed through the crumbling facility, Drake allowed herself a small smile. They had come to the Epsilon Eridani system seeking justice for their fallen leader. They would leave having struck a blow against a conspiracy that spanned millennia. The counterattack had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. But as the human fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and assessing the fallout of their victory, one thing was clear. This was just the beginning. The Void Dancers were still out there, their true motives still shrouded in mystery. And humanity, having proven itself on the galactic stage, would never be underestimated again. As the HSS Nemesis prepared to jump back to Earth, Admiral Frost looked out at the shattered remains of the moon machine. In its destruction, a new chapter in galactic history had begun, and humanity, for better or worse, would be at the center of it all. Justice and consequences. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Conclave buzzed with a tension unlike any in recent memory. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the tiered seats, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness and variety of life in the cosmos. At the center of it all stood Admiral Helena Frost, her crisp uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate regalia of the alien diplomats. Frost's eyes swept the room, taking in the mixture of awe, fear, and respect on the faces of the gathered delegates. The events at Epsilon Eridani had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Humanity, once seen as a young, untested species, had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. Esteemed members of the conclave, Frost began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. "I stand before you today, not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for justice in our shared cosmos." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle. The assassination of President Chen was not just an attack on humanity. It was an assault on the very principles that bind our civilizations together. But in responding to this tragedy, we uncovered a threat far greater than we could have imagined. Holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber, showing footage from the battle at Epsilon Eridani. The assembled delegates murmured as they watched the destruction of the moon machine. "The conspiracy we unraveled spans millennia," Frost continued. "It involves powers ancient beyond reckoning, forces that have been manipulating galactic events from the shadows. We know them as the Void Dancers, but their true nature and ultimate goals remain a mystery." In the upper tiers of the chamber, Ambassador Zix of the Zenturi nodded gravely. His people had long suspected the existence of such ancient forces, but never had they been so boldly revealed. Frost's voice took on a steely edge. "We come before the conclave today not to boast of our victory, but to call for unity. The threat we face is greater than any single species can hope to counter alone. We must stand together, or we will fall divided." As Frost laid out the evidence gathered by Earth's intelligence services, supplemented by the crucial data provided by Agent Zora Chen, the mood in the chamber shifted. Fear gave way to determination, skepticism to grudging respect. But not all were swayed. From the Sylvan delegation, a voice rang out, filled with barely contained fury. "You speak of justice," Councillor Falla spat, rising to her feet. "But what of the destruction you wrought? An entire moon obliterated, countless lives lost. You humans, in your quest for vengeance, may have doomed us all." Murmurs of agreement rippled through sections of the assembly. Frost had anticipated this. She nodded to her aide, and new images filled the holographic displays. "What you see here," Frost explained, her voice calm but firm, "is the result of our analysis of the moon machine's core. It was not a weapon, as the conspirators believed. It was a key to unlocking powers that no single species should wield." The displays showed simulations of what might have happened had the moon machine been fully activated. Entire star systems warped and twisted, the very fabric of space-time distorted beyond recognition. In destroying the moon, Frost continued, we prevented a catastrophe that could have reshaped our galaxy in ways we can scarcely imagine. The loss of life is regrettable, but the alternative was unthinkable. As the implications sank in, the mood in the chamber shifted once again. Even Thala, her earlier bravado faltering, sank back into her seat. Frost pressed her advantage. We stand at a crossroads. The Void Dancers and their agents have been dealt a significant blow, but they are far from defeated. We must decide, here and now, how we will face this threat. From the Zentari delegation, Ambassador Zix stood. Earth has proven itself a worthy ally in the face of cosmic peril. The Zentari Collective pledges its full support to this united effort. One by one, other species followed suit. The Nuvians, with their empathic abilities, spoke of sensing the truth in Frost's words. The warrior clans of the Kreldor, impressed by humanity's martial prowess, offered their strength. Even the reclusive Aquilarians, their crystalline forms shimmering with inner light, broke centuries of isolation to join the cause. As the pledges of allegiance and support poured in, Frost allowed herself a moment of hope. This was more than she had dared to dream possible when they had first set out to avenge President Chen. But the moment was shattered by a bone-chilling laugh that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The lights in the chamber flickered, and a shadow deeper than the void between stars coalesced in the center of the room. How quaint! A voice that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind echoed through the chamber. The children squabble and plot, thinking they can change the course of a dance that began before their stars were born. Frost's hand went to her weapon, but she knew instinctively it would be useless against this entity. This, she realized with a mixture of awe and terror, must be one of the Void Dancers themselves. Your species, the voice continued, focusing its attention on Frost, has proven interesting, a variable we did not fully account for. But do not think for a moment that your minor victory has any real meaning in the grand scheme of things. The shadow pulsed, and with each pulse, delegates cried out in pain or slumped in their seats, overwhelmed by the psychic assault. The dance continues. The entity intoned. You have merely changed partners for a single measure. The music of creation and destruction plays on, with or without your participation. As quickly as it had appeared, the shadow vanished. The lights returned to normal, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. Frost, her mind reeling from the encounter, but her resolve stronger than ever, stepped forward once more. You've all seen now what we're truly up against, she said, her voice steadied despite the tremor she felt in her core. This is no longer about human vengeance or galactic politics. This is about the survival of all we hold dear. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many delegates as she could. We've been given a choice. We can cower in fear, waiting for these cosmic forces to decide our fate. Or we can stand together, pooling our knowledge, our strength, our very will to exist, and forge a future of our own making. The chamber erupted in a chorus of voices, some afraid, some angry, but many, growing in number with each passing moment, filled with determination. As the galactic conclave debated long into the night, hammering out the details of what would come to be known as the Cosmic Accord, Frost stepped away for a moment of quiet reflection. She found herself in a small antechamber, staring out at the star-filled sky. The weight of what they had uncovered, of the challenges that lay ahead, pressed down on her. Quite a view, isn't it? A familiar voice said from behind her. Frost turned to see Zara Chen, the young agent who had risked everything to bring them the intelligence that had made their victory possible. Agent Chen. Frost nodded. Or should I say, Ambassador Chen. Zara smiled wryly. The promotion came as a surprise. I'm not sure I'm cut out for diplomacy. After what you've been through, Frost replied, I'd say you're more qualified than most. Your mother would be proud. At the mention of President Chen, both women fell silent for a moment, remembering the leader whose assassination had set these events in motion. Do you think we can win? Zara asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper, against something as vast and ancient as the Void Dancers. Frost considered the question carefully. "I think," she said slowly, "that winning might not be the right way to look at it. We're not just fighting against something, we're fighting for something. For the right of every species to chart its own course, to grow and learn and evolve without the manipulation of cosmic chess masters." She turned back to the window, gesturing at the stars beyond. "Out there, right now, there are countless civilizations rising, falling, dreaming of touching the stars. They don't know about the dance that's been going on around them. But we do. And that knowledge gives us a responsibility." Zara nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. "We keep dancing, but we change the tune." "Exactly," Frost smiled. "We may not be able to stop the dance entirely, but we can certainly make sure that humanity, and all the allies we've made, have a say in the steps." As they stood there, looking out at the vast expanse of the cosmos, both women felt a sense of purpose crystallize within them. The road ahead would be long and fraught with dangers beyond imagining, but they had taken the first steps, and they would not walk alone. Back in the main chamber, the Cosmic Accord was taking shape. It was more than just a military alliance or a political treaty. It was a declaration of intent from the free species of the galaxy. A statement that they would not be pawns in a game they didn't understand, but active participants in shaping the destiny of the cosmos. As the final articles were agreed upon, a cheer went up that seemed to shake the very stars. Humanity, in avenging its fallen leader, had stumbled upon a truth older than time itself. And in facing that truth, they had forged connections that spanned the gulf between worlds. The consequences of their actions would ripple across the galaxy for eons to come. New alliances would be tested, ancient secrets would be unearthed, and the very nature of reality might be challenged. But as Admiral Helena Frost looked out at the sea of faces, human and alien alike, united in common cause, she felt a surge of hope. Whatever the Void Dancers and their ilk might throw at them, they would face it together. The dance of the cosmos continued, but now, at long last, humanity and its allies were ready to lead.